Welcome to Let's Talk Geek episode 117, recorded on Wednesday, 5 December 2012. In the show, Travis Bulford from Celestial Games talks about Toxic Bunny and the story behind the bunny with a coffee addiction and a mission to undo a great evil. We also talk about Wi-Fi running faster on just about any router and how tall can a Lego tower actually get, the math behind it, and the science. Thanks for watching. Welcome to the show. I'm your host, Jan Vermeulen. In the show with me today, I've got
Tim Hawk,
Gerrit Vermeulen,
and joining us, special guest,
Travis Bulford.
Travis. Yeah. What do you do? Let's start there.
Okay, well, I run Celestial, lead developer there. We're a South African-based computer games development company, so I develop computer games.
Cool.
Not alone.
Dream job.
It's hard work. Lots of people.
Indeed,
Okay.
that does sound like a dream job, but we'll get more about that a bit later. First, we have a random, and today's random, in the spirit of gaming, is a game on Steam Greenlight called Battle Ball, which pits players, except they said pins players, against a computer or other players, both on local and online multiplayer, and makes them do battle and not just score points with the ball. Power-ups will allow players to defend themselves or go on the offensive and both trick and cripple their opponents while also providing faster and more powerful projectiles to destroy whomever dares challenge them. And if that blurb didn't want to make you buy it, this is a Pong action game mashup. And the way I got to Pong is naturally through XKCD, because XKCD 117 has Pong in it. And explores the idea, what happens if we have a Matrix-like singularity where the machines wake up, and how that'll affect Pong.
Okay.
Totally worth going to
so
check
Pong
out
slash
117.
I've just gone blank on it. Cycles, like cycles. Tron.
Well,
Oh, you get a geek point now.
more like Pong having an existential crisis, really.
Okay. Yes.
Because Tron didn't have
I would
that.
watch that movie. That movie would be better than The Hobbit.
Which
No.
episode?
No.
Okay.
Yeah, let's
Anyway,
not,
yes.
And
let's not get
there's
back
the
into
Peter
jab.
Jackson bashing is for Twitter, gentlemen.
Or last week's show.
You can join us in IRC, irc.ltnet.tv. You can post stuff at us on Twitter, which the mixer will then read at us. We're at Let's Talk Geek on Twitter. And if the mixer isn't reading it on Twitter, then I will. And after the show, you can go and like us on Facebook, circle us on Google Plus and all that stuff. I'm doing all the plugs now because we're going to be plugging something else a bit later. With that, one of my favorite new segments of Let's Talk Geek, the Quick Geek. How today's show is going to work
Okay.
is, because I make the rules up on the spot, this is the great thing about Quick Geek, is he with the most interesting tangential factoid gets the most points. Points are awarded by the mixer at the mixer's discretion. Winner wins nothing and the points don't matter.
Okay.
Winner wins a Toxic Bunny badge.
Excellent. Winner wins a
Well,
Toxic Bunny
I
badge.
have badges. Can I not play?
If Travis wins, we'll give him
a badge.
Coffee.
geek cred or more coffee.
We'll have to
More
make
coffee.
Let's Talk Network badges. Let's Talk Geek
They give me a
badges.
badge, yes.
Already the Quick Geek is the slow geek, gentlemen. Let's get the show on the road.
Okay.
Oh, no, let's talk geek card.
Yes. Excellent.
Babbage differential engine in a Gigapixel.
Difference engine. Yes.
What's a difference engine?
Babbage made a machine. I actually can't
Steampunk.
quite guess.
Okay, think steampunk computer. And it's in some 18th century, whatever. You had Babbage, and he was a mathematician, as far as I understand
Yep.
correctly. And basically, he drew up some designs to do a sort of a calculating engine using steam and gears and cogs and stuff. Effectively, a
Or
computer.
just gears.
Just gears. Oh, it wasn't
gears.
steam
You turn
driven?
a crank.
Okay. Sorry,
Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
Effectively,
Still counts as steampunk.
effectively a computer with mechanics.
Yes.
Yes. all
So,
the
but
logic
unfortunately, at the time, they didn't quite have the tech to actually build
Well,
it.
no, they did. He just every time he got to the point where, as far as I understand, he started building it. He started designing the next one and doing improvements. So he sort of never finishing.
finished
Died
one.
before we actually
So
got finished.
We actually do have a couple of them now. Some of them are in working condition, and with some of them, I think in the UK, you can actually go to a museum and watch one actually doing something. So they do have screenings of that. So what this the engine in Gigapixel is, it's a bunch of guys who decided to take photos, gigapixel photos of a Babbage difference engine, and this is really cool because they got pretty close to it. And shooting at wide apertures, it means your depth of field is really shallow. So you're measuring in centimeters here. So what they had to actually do is take a bunch of different photos and then use a technique called focus stacking to be able to get the entire thing in focus. So you sit with a gigapixel image and the whole thing is in focus. And then in some cases, they had to like layer 28 photos on top of each other, which is just awesome.
Indeed. As awesome as Dune 2 coming online.
Yes.
Dune 2 was the game that put me onto strategy gaming back in the day.
I
And
think the
times.
planet, to be honest.
That was my introduction, at least, to that universe.
so now it's online.
About yay
Spiceless
high.
flow.
Which browsers does it work in?
Definitely works in Chrome.
Yes.
I haven't tested it in
this
anything.
afternoon.
Firefox?
Okay.
Firefox, it runs. If anyone's willing to test IE, no. Okay.
Who likes Dune 2 and
And
runs
I-
IE?
Those sets are two circles.
PCs.
That
It's
set
still on Windows
two circles.
XP.
Hands up
or-
anybody in IRC who's that
doesn't
person.
happen. But there it is, Dune 2. I think on the homepage they actually have some high scores of
It
people
does
playing the
say
game.
the worms still come up and
Oh, yes.
I haven't played
it's
that
the full
far.
game. I played it. It's the full original game. You can count the pixels on every character. I love it.
awesome.
I suspect these old games that worked with sprites are far more conducive to porting online using HTML5 than a modern game in a 3D engine would be. I mean, you'd still have to rewrite a lot of the logic in JavaScript and stuff, but
Well, it
the
depends
art and stuff is in place, right? So
on
Yeah,
how,
it's-
how the engine works, because I know like with the Doom ones that they basically had a Java to JavaScript compiler,
okay.
and I don't know if they use something similar for this.
I don't know. I mean, you can run an 8-bit machine in a browser. You don't need anything. So they could just as easily run an 8-bit emulator and run it in there.
Yeah, there are emulators
shoot.
that they
So-
could have done something like that as well.
So here's a factoid for you. House Ordos is not mentioned, to the best of my recollection, in the original Dune book. The very first book.
Yes, that's correct.
House Ordos does not feature there.
Yeah, it's Atreides and Harkonnen.
Harkonnen.
Isn't Ordos
Harkonnen.
possibly Harkonnen? Yes, isn't Ordos possibly mentioned in reference to the guild?
No, the guild.
The Spice Guild mentions.
The Spice Guild is mentioned in the actual
Yeah,
game.
yeah,
So
guild
the
is.
Ordos is not a guild. That Ordos
Yes,
is a
no.
house.
Yes,
No. So anyway, Gimp Magazine issue 2 is out.
it is out. It
Go
came out-
download it as soon as the service come back online.
Yeah, apparently they've melted a couple of servers. So just keep checking, keep pressing F5 and melt another one. It's there, it's out. I've downloaded it, but I haven't had the opportunity to actually look at it. The previous one was really cool, and this issue looked like they'd be building on it. So they're trying to make it better, get better, more content, more things, and just keep improving.
So you know content aware fill that you get in Adobe Photoshop.
Photoshop that Gimp has had for a little bit before that.
That's my factoid.
Yeah.
It's the GIMP was actually used as part of a thesis, either master's or PhD level, to examine, being able to automatically remove it's called resynthesizer is the name of the plugin, or resynthesize a segment of the image. So, and I think that guy's stuff actually now runs in Photoshop to some degree. So, but the resynthesizer plugin hasn't had much love, so content aware fill is better.
Yeah.
But GIMP had it first, and it had it years before Photoshop had
And
it.
Gimp's healing tool, to be fair, is also pretty damn good.
It's okay.
Before you get to resynthesize, if you want more power,
The
you
healing
can
tool
use,
is resynthesizer.
you can resynthesize. There's a more powerful version of it as well.
Yeah.
So the weaker version is actually not bad.
GPU monster. Tim, I think
right.
you came across this one.
Okay, the whole thing with this is they've got basically a new 25 GPU PC, but basically it devours strong passwords. I'm not going to, but it's pretty much, it cracks passwords in a matter of seconds.
What kind of passwords?
Strong ones.
Okay, so in other words,
I'm
hang
trying
on.
to get
you get the hash file off of your Unix box.
Yes. 14 character Windows XP password hashing using LMX would fail in 6 minutes. 14 characters.
We're boned.
I'm going to need to change my passwords.
All right. I was going to say, the caveat to this is they need the hash.
Yes.
Right. So the only way this actually matters is if they get the password, the hash files. And generally, how you work out, we have this lovely thing called the internet that automatically adds a delay. So if they're trying to brute force Google or something like, literally, the couple seconds of communication with Google adds enough of a delay that these things become reasonably
Well, pretty
pointless.
soon after a few misattempts, Google starts throwing you the captures.
Yeah.
And those captures come from Google's AI, which is trying to learn how to do them, and it can't do that one, so it gave it to you.
Yeah.
So,
and
pretty
there's
tough.
the other ways that they're working around this now, HMAC and things like that. But don't worry that this doesn't mean that all your passwords are all your places do not belong to us. And it's more of a worry if your hashes get out there. And also they need to know what they've salted it. Therefore,
Don't tweet your
if
salt, don't tweet your hash. Got it.
and salt your passwords. Do
No,
it.
for the love of pie.
If-
Everybody
I
out
mean,
there who's not salting their passwords,
you're a
why do
danger
you
to
do
the
it?
They
internet.
don't need this PC to crack it.
You can do it
don't
with
use
this.
MD5.
Oh yeah, the maker of MD5 said, yeah, it's pretty much out of date. Stop using it to hash your passwords now. just don't do it anymore, please.
Yeah.
Some local music. iTunes Music is fine in South Africa after a massive rumor mongering
So
earlier in the year.
essentially, what's going to change now? You switch your account to South African. You can pay with your credit card, and you pay in rands.
Yes. And the selection from what I could see is still more limited. We still don't have games, so I'm still going to keep my US account for if I want to
iTunes
actually buy
Music.
something from iTunes.
One
which
thing
is
it
so
does
rare.
also give you the iTunes Match.
Yes.
Which is what? How much was it? $200?
200 Rand a month.
Yeah.
A month?
No.
Isn't it a year?
200 Rand a year.
Yeah, my bad.
A year, and then if they don't have the song, so it matches your songs to iTunes.
Yes.
And if it doesn't have your songs in the iTunes library, you can upload them.
Yes.
And then it will sync across all your various iDevices.
And this also gives you but it's also sort of like the whole idea of Spotify. It can also stream it.
No,
So you don't. Yes.
no.
Yes.
cannot stream,
iTunes doesn't
as
do
far as I
streaming
know.
as far as I know.
What you do is it
iTunes.
syncs via iCloud, and you can download it on your Apple device. It also you
So-
can buy the song and adds it to your iCloud, and you can.
And then you can download it onto your device, but there's no streaming. Apple doesn't directly compete with Spotify or any of those services.
Yeah,
just
to the
yet.
best of my knowledge.
There have been rumors.
Okay. So look, I don't have this because I don't have an.
Okay, so good news is that if you do the iTunes match in Rand, it currently, because our exchange rate is so incredibly weak, works out cheaper than doing it in US dollar. So that's it. But you have to sacrifice being able to access the US catalog.
Also, added bonus of say this over Avi Music is that some of iTunes, some maybe not all, is in AAC.
Sure.
256 AAC, so it's slightly better.
And that said, there's a South African band called Mr. Cat and the Jackal that I really enjoy, whose music is really difficult to track down. I managed to get some free stuff of theirs off of the Media24 websites. And
Sorry, I just have to do it. So it's hard to track down their tracks. Had to. Sorry. Yeah.
it's
Ted
not
votes for Tim and he wins a toxic bunny badge.
it's not the Quip episode. You're breaking my rules. All right.
Are you telling the mixer that they're wrong?
Sorry.
My rules.
and another correction, by the way, it does stream.
Okay.
On a computer, any song stored in the iCloud will stream over the air when played. Though you can download them anytime by clicking the iCloud download button. iOS devices will start playing tracks from the iCloud as they download, and we store them so that you can listen to them later, even if you don't have a network connection.
Okay, my bad. Good job.
Okay.
What I wanted to say is Mr. Cat and the Jackal has 2 albums. Their most recent one is available on the South African store. Their older one is not. The US store has both. I'm just going to...
Please hold. I need to head desk.
This is the problem with the content industry in general. Is it like the stuff finally launches in South Africa and it takes so long for the stuff to actually filter down. Anyway,
Can I have one other question? Anybody here care about iTunes with Spotify and some?
There is, with streaming, there is one artist that I cannot find anywhere else, and I'll consider buying her music on iTunes. The rest of it, no, I'm on SciFi. I'm good.
Yep. Streaming music seems to be the way, I mean, as a business model, apparently it doesn't work that well for artists, but as from a consumer perspective, that's the way to go. It's like uncapped music. Once you've uncapped your internet, uncapped your, you want to uncap everything else.
Don't go back.
Exactly. So,
Just better internet. Yeah, yes.
then, Travis, you actually drew our attention to the fact that Sony has released an SDK for PlayStation mobile platform.
Yes, released it as in you can get this, download this for free and start playing with it, which is, it's a big step for a company like Sony. So I brought it to attention in terms of, I think a lot of people are saying they're desperate to get content, but it looks like Sony are building their own version of the App Store for their mobile platforms. This is the Sony Vita, as well as the mobile phones that they're bringing out. And this SDK is for that. So it's limited to about 96 meg for your application as it's running, a few other things like that. And you have to have a publishing license in order to publish, which is only $99 in any other country but ours. So it's really great right up until that point.
Can you get it here, or is it more here?
No, it's not here.
Okay, no, so,
It's not here.
Okay, no, just
It's a digital concept that does not work from South
$99
Africa.
everywhere, except for
everything we just
Africa
has been discussing fits into this.
Billion dollars, yeah.
Yeah, we
Is
looking
it like a $99 a year thing? Like most
no,
other
they're
app stores?
just talking about it's a once-off thing. I think
Okay.
they're trying to do the same thing that Greenlight did to stop a
Spammers and
plethora of
stuff.
spam finding its way into their PSN network.
Sure.
So all those games end up on PSN, available on those.
I
mobile
wonder what
platforms.
the issue is, because the reason games are excluded from the iTunes App Store is usually given as the Film and Publications Board's requirements on having games rated. And so the Film and Publications Board turns a blind eye to guys like Google and Steam selling their games in South Africa without being rated, but Apple has apparently decided to play by the rules. That's the story we're being fed.
Well, I'm not actually sure about that. I'd say it has more to do with banking and tax laws in terms of redeeming the money into South African's economy, and what do they have to do in order to transfer those funds to a South African citizen. I actually think that's got more to do with it than
The commercial stuff rather than the
that stuff.
licensing stuff.
So every country they go into, they've got to jump through those loopholes and those laws around the taxation and the individual's financials and how the government keeps track of all of that. And I think that's got a lot more to do with it. In terms of the size of economy, we're not going to be first in that list.
But you as a developer, you can't even upload and sell your stuff to another market, to the US market. Or anything
Well, there's
like
only
that.
one market, as I understand it, on that particular platform, but I may
Okay.
be very incorrect on that. We'll have to investigate further.
Sure, but
however, I
bottom line is you
can't put it
can't.
on there from South Africa, but that doesn't mean that I can't get a publishing license or somebody overseas who has one. And
Which is what a lot of our Android devs do, because Google
It's
also
exactly
doesn't
what you have
allow
to
you
do.
to sell apps from South Africa.
Exactly, and I think it's for very similar reasons.
Interesting.
So, yeah, but it's nice to, Sony's dev kits generally come in the lots of figures before you even put it into rands price tag. So access like
It's
this
good,
is
it's
nice
opening it
for a
up, allowing
console.
more things, yeah.
Yes, it's a very good thing.
More competition and more openness is always cool.
From content creation to content consumption, Battlestar Galactica, Blood and Chrome, go and watch it, frack you.
Okay.
And
Not
seeing.
right now. Just wait.
But not right now. Go. The question of the week is, how tall can a Lego tower get? And the answer...
You stole my factoid.
Wait. What's the answer?
What's the answer?
35.5 kilometers theoretical height due to the physical makeup of the plastic itself. It'll start to melt.
Okay.
However, Lego professionals who build Lego models say you're very lucky if you get to 2.5 meters. It'll fall. So this is just a single 2x2 block. How high could that get? But the mass and the fabrics can actually go right up into the stratosphere.
And they tested this by putting it in a really, really big pressure.
Yes. And back
Pressurize
slowly
it.
out the room.
Yeah. They were like, if this thing explodes, I'm going to be on that side.
There's somewhere in the 400 kilograms of pressure for one block.
Still amazed that it melts, not explodes.
No, the structure of the structure did not fail. The actual bonds of the plastic failed.
That's cool.
Lego is where it's at.
Building block of the future.
I would build my
Yes.
house out of that. I don't need to go to 35 kilometers.
Just need big bricks.
Yes, big bricks. Let's build our own house.
And if you're a bit bored, then tomorrow
Change your room.
it. Yeah,
Yes.
sorted.
some interesting YouTube videos on people who built a house out of Lego. That's
We should go look at that, see what the little pigs think.
Worth googling. With that brings us to the end of the not so quick geek, and brings us to the next part of our show. If you're just joining us, this is Let's Talk Geek episode 117, and in the studio with us we have Travis Bulford of Celestial Games, who is the lead dev on Toxic Bunny and Toxic Bunny HD more recently.
Yes.
And this is the segment of the show I like to call Let's Talk Geek, because we're uncreative that way and really need to rename this segment of the show, and we could really use your help to do that.
Tips.
So please,
Your name here.
yeah,
Let's talk to a geek.
indeed. Travis, thank you very much for joining us.
No, it's a pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, really cool. So tell us a bit about you, where you started, and
Okay.
you know, where. Yeah, and let's start there and go from that.
Well,
to
you
your
want to go
hiatus
back
and
to the
stuff.
very beginning, you'd have to bring my parents. But if we move forward a little, I was introduced to computers in Standard 6. Like everybody, I wanted one to play games. And as fate had it, the tape drive didn't work. This was a Spectra video. So I got this Christmas present I couldn't do anything with, and a little manual that said, this is how you make things. And by the time I got a tape drive, I was more interested in building things than playing the games. So play a game for about 20 minutes and spend 4 or 8 hours trying to build something similar. And this just kept happening, and eventually we started the team in 1994, and we started working on Toxic Bunny. At this point, I had a lot of games under my belt, which were just in the house, some unfinished. And yeah, we finished the game in 1996, and that's how we got into writing games. It's always fun to be creative, and as a developer, it's, you know, you guys are talking about Gimp, but I can't draw things, but to be creative in code is just as much fun. So that's how we got started.
Mm-hmm. And you released a couple of games after.
Well, we
Toxic
released
Bunny.
one after Toxic Bunny in 2001 or 1999. I'd have to. I get a bit blurry. It's quite a while ago now. We released The Tainted, which was an action RPG. A bit ambitious for our second project. The game itself did quite well, but unfortunately, we were dealing with EA, and they were our international gateway, and they had no longer got access. So we lost access to international market through them. And in the local market, it doesn't really support a business. So we shut the business down about 2 years after that. We were busy with a title called Zulu War, but we ran out of funding and we ran out of steam. So we put the company on the shelf so we could figure out how to get it going again. And that started in 2012, where we decided to pick up again.
Okay. And why the decision to start again? What changed?
Well, 2010, yes. Well, when we were trying to make the games originally, we would go overseas with our game. We were the crazy South Africans with the funny voices running around trying to sell something. Now, at the best possible effort, we were 10,000 miles away or in the wrong time zone, where now we're just another crazy indie. There's a concept in the market where we fit. There's a place for us to
People understand
work.
the concept and the
Yes.
idea now.
So instead of being South African, we're an indie. And that's a lot easier than being the South African running around trying to do things. There's no infrastructure. But indies, there's lots of infrastructure now. There's Greenlight, there's Desura, there's IndieDB. There's a whole lot of supporting structures to get indies to know about the markets, how to reach the markets. Some are not that successful, but some, as you know, Minecraft, Limbo. There's a lot of very successful indie companies, although some of them, indie starts being a bit tricky, because at what point do you stop being indie?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I guess because the definition gets interesting, because
Oh, it does.
it's about self-publishing games, right? But you get really, really big indie studios out there, guys who write their own games and publish their own games.
Yes.
But you know, then you get guys like the guys behind Darwinia and Uplink and those classics. You know, who earlier in the year, reading their blog posts, they were really struggling. They were struggling to get product out the door, getting funding, and you know, making sure that the business stays viable. So there's these two. You know, like when people think indie, they think of, you know, young startup garage types, you know, who are struggling for money, not Blizzard.
No, not any Blizzards or Activisions, but
Or Valve,
there are a few smaller commercial indies who are already successful and still building games in the same environment. The definition is irrelevant. At least there's a definition we can go in under. And that was why we decided to start looking at getting back into games. We picked up with Toxic Bunny HD. We knew the character was lovable. We knew that the game worked for people. We also knew we were a bit rusty. So rather than spending another 8 years building a whole bunch of prototypes before we built something, we picked up rebuilding that so we could get our skills back and also train a new team, because there's only 2 of us from the original team that are now still active in the company. And the new team had no idea what it was like to finish a game. Now they do.
And how did you find it this time round?
A lot easier in several ways. The technology has come so far. The tools we have make everything a lot easier. Back in 1996, it was about a 5-minute process between hitting run and seeing the game run. So any change I wanted to make, I'd make 100 changes at a time. Then I would run it and check all 100 changes, because to do one and hit run wouldn't happen.
Yeah.
So I guess I'm lazier and I like it.
Well, the quicker thing, you can innovate quicker and change, and if it doesn't work, alter it. Which is
you work on a 5-minute compile time, in an hour you can do, 10 things?
6. No, 12.
But you still got to type it as well.
Yes, true.
It's that part.
And a million questions about the games themselves and the history that I'd love to get back to. But the one thing that's come up now, as you say, is the technology and stuff that's available now. So one engine that's really caught my eye is Unity, for example.
Yes.
How does the kind of stuff that's available for indies now compared to what you had when you first wrote Toxic Bunny? Does it decrease development time?
Okay, I can compare. Well, let's start with the fact there was nothing. We had Ball and C++, and then we moved on to Whatcom. So I mean, we built the original Toxic Bunny in designing tools we wrote, and in Notepad with makefiles. This was how the original game was made. So the comparison to going to Unity and dragging monsters around and making them kill each other, it's quite a drastic comparison. I think one thing that's changed is the focus on the technology is still there for a lot of people, but today there's a lot more interest in what makes it fun, what makes it a game, what makes it interesting. And that part has really come home, because now the engines are easier, building the tools are easier. It's not necessarily easy, but the question of what am I building is more important than what cool effect can I come up with.
The whole separation of tasks thing, which let the guys who are good at building the engine build the engine, let the guys who are good at building the game build the game, which gives you more time to make a good game.
Always. But even in a tool like Unity, I should stress, if you're good devs and you've got a lot of skill, you're going to be able to get more out of Unity, and it will show in the game. It always shows in the game. So it allows you to go further. You start further down the line. We built a prototype 3D engine. It took us about 8 or 9 months, and it was nowhere close to what you get for $1,000 using Unity, or free if you don't want the Pro Edition. So quite a big leap.
Yeah. Just it falls in here. We've just had a question from the RSC. Sort of what languages and libraries do you use? I'm assuming Unity.
No, not for Toxic Bunny. Toxic Bunny is built in Java on my own library. I built that in Cameroon, because there's so much to do in Cameroon at night when you're stuck there on a business trip. So I started working on a Java port, because everybody told me Java is useless and you can't make games in it, and I don't like being told what I can or can't do. So I set about to build it, and in 2 nights I had a running prototype. Everything was coping well. That was still in Java 1.5 at the time.
So this is some time ago that you started the Java.
That was 5 years ago. Out of frustration, like I said, I'm in Cameroon. You want to go see the nightlife? No? Okay, so moving on. We started working on it, and I tinkered with that for about 3 years just for fun. And then 2 years ago, when Nick and I discussed restarting Celestial, we already had a starting point. We just needed to take it further. We redid all the assets for the game, so it's a complete redraw. And it's in J4Game, which is online, and it's LGPL. We're going to be re-releasing the version we finished to do Toxic Bunny soon. So anybody who wants to work in Java, you're welcome to use that. It's out there.
Cool. Then some more questions from the IRC.
I'll try not to look down.
We'll read, so don't worry.
Is when or where can you get the game?
Okay, well, at the moment you can get it in most of the stores. So you can buy the boxed version in Let's see. Top CD, Reggie's Incredible Connection. Who am I going to forget? Oh, BT Games. No, I didn't forget BT Games. There's a few others as well that are retailing it at the
I
moment.
heard you guys were the top selling game at Top CD about 3 weeks ago.
Well, I don't know about now, but I know at Rage, we launched there. It's outsold in quantity and value everything else that they were selling at Top CD. So we outsold Borderlands, we outsold Pokemon cards, we outsold everything at Top CD there.
That is so cool.
Partially because I think we were there and the presence helped, but then Borderlands 2 was there, everybody else was there as well. BT Games also sold it there, and they only had it for I think half a day, and they moved 40 units without us sending a single person there. So it did quite well there, but it needs shelf space to sell. So if somebody sees it, they buy it. If they don't see it, well, if they don't see it, then there's other options. You can go onto our website, and it's also on Desura now. You can go to toxicbunny.co.za, or you can go to celestial-games.com.
Cool.
And it's on sale there, and it's on sale on Desura. Desura is an alternative to Steam. And check it out. Lots of indies on there. Lots of cool, great, fun games.
So some questions about the online purchasing options. When you do you buy it directly from you if you go to toxicbunny.co.za?
You buy it from Celestial if you buy it directly from us. Yes.
And then what are the download options like? What's the DRM like?
Well, there's no DRM on that download. It is 1.1 gig. Get free download manager or some tool like that. Don't do that in your browser because it creates a lot of support calls for me. We really encourage using a tool to download 1.1 gig. I'd also point out to you that the box product's 149 Rand. If you're going to download 1.1 gig or buy a 149 Rand box product, I'm not entirely sure what your break even is.
Yes. Well, uncapped.
Unless you're uncapped, of course.
Yeah. No, cool. Then
is it on Greenlight?
It's on Greenlight.
Go vote for it on Greenlight.
Go vote for it on Greenlight.
Okay.
It's not moving particularly fast at the moment. We need to send more traffic that way. Greenlight's a nice platform, but its majority of players are not our majority audience. So we're not entirely sure it's going to get greenlit, but we're very hopeful. We're going to send a few reviews out hopefully this year. Those reviews will generate some more Greenlight traffic.
So you mentioned your target audience, and who is that exactly with Toxic Bunny?
Okay,
that you don't think it's getting the attention necessarily.
On Steam, well, Steam's entry level is 13, and as much as we've got a lot of old fans of the game, a lot of people are looking at the game who are older. Our target audience for Toxic Bunny has and always will be 10 to about 15. A bit younger still enjoy playing the game, but they don't necessarily grasp what's happening. But that was our target audience. And when you build a game for a target audience, you build it with specific ideas and concepts that work for that age group. And it works very well for that age group. If anybody was at Rage, we had, I think you had a picture of the little boy playing the game. You left. His parents grabbed him and his fingers were gripped onto the barrel and they were pulling him off. And we're like, no, leave him. We're like, take him away. No, leave him. And they just did not want to go away. So that's our target audience. It's youngsters. The character appeals to them. He specifically relates to what they're going through. There's a lot more behind it than just a bunny that drinks coffee. And that's our target audience. Now, Steam's entry level's already 3 years up from our beginning age group. So the people voting are not necessarily our target audience. But that having been said, we're getting a lot of experience on there, and we certainly know how to pitch our next products properly.
Okay. So, can you talk a bit about what you've got next in the pipe? Are you looking at remaking some of your other games or something?
I can tell you there's a couple of different games that are in pre-production at the moment. We're about to push 2 into first phase production, which means we're going to get to an alpha version. We're hoping to have alpha versions in January or February for both of those. Those are now on Unity, so now we're moving out of the Java engine for those. We're probably going to take 48 hours aside and into one of the online 48-hour game challenges as well, because that sounds like a bit of fun and a good excuse to drink a lot more coffee than usual. But yeah, there is an intention to do a remake of The Tainted, but not a remake, more a reimagining of what we had in mind. We like the action role-playing science fiction idea, but we need to go to first person. Third person doesn't work for science fiction. Everybody plays science fiction, wants a first person game. Third person for fantasy, first person for science fiction. I don't understand it, but that's how people have formulated.
I've played a handful of action RPG sci-fi games, but yeah, the focus does tend to be on the more Diablo-esque ones, and the science fiction ones aren't always as engaging for some reason. It's like they miss a core, action RPG mechanic in the actual game that makes it click. So there's definitely, I think that there's a market there. I would certainly play a good sci-fi action RPG.
No, there's certainly RPGs, but they go first person.
Yes.
Even so.
This would be the image you were talking about, Travis.
Yes, that's the youngster. He did not want to leave.
Now, talking about science fiction and a bit of a segue.
Wait, can I just have another question here? Just somebody else brought it up with your future ones. Have you game deving in South Africa?
Yes.
How are you finding it? And then also just sort of the alternate funding models like Kickstarter and stuff like that.
Okay.
Just let's start your views on it and what you think. And
let's start with the game deving. We obviously were living in a little bubble trying to finish our game. Yeah. So we came out, and I must tell you, there's quite a healthy young games development market in South Africa. If you go to makegamessa.com, you can go and see a lot of stuff, a lot of forums, those link to other sites. And you'll see the guys interacting there, having regular meetings in Joburg and Cape Town, and talking about games, reviewing each other's games, giving each other advice. It's a really exciting endeavor. And yeah, we've got involved with that just recently, and we're really enjoying the feedback and seeing what the guys are doing. So at least we're not alone, and that's really a cool feeling.
Yeah.
In terms of funding, well, the first challenge for us in South Africa is to convince parents that when the children actually are doing this, they're doing a job, because that would be a nice thing. If we can overcome that, it's a good start. Kickstarter, I don't believe pays to South Africa, but I believe that there's alternatives.
Okay.
Desura has crowdsourced funding running on it, so that's one option. And then you've got, local investment. We haven't had much luck with that in the past, and we haven't been looking at the moment. We're doing our own self-investing. So we've built a commercial company to support this company, so as it's a fledgling.
Okay.
So that's how we did it.
Any tips for the guys out there besides getting involved in the communities? And
I read a guy talking about building indie games recently, and he had a couple of good comments, and the one I really liked was start. Start.
It's the first step.
Just start.
Things, yeah.
Just go and start. Go and look at the tools. You can build it yourself. What really made us succeed with Toxic Bunny the first time is we stopped trying to build an idea and we started to build the game. We started off always going, I'd love a game with this concept, and we built the concept, but we wouldn't understand that we were trying to build a finished game. So once the concept was finished, our motivation was gone. Once we grasped the idea that the whole game must be the concept, and we started off with that in mind, it was much easier to finish something.
Start and then finish.
Well, start and finish, yes, and everybody will find their own way to finish. Some people give up too easily, some people polish more than they need to. There's diminishing returns on investment. Like any project, you have to eventually let it go. Even if some people don't like it, it's not for everybody.
Also, thing I've learned, nobody ever likes everything.
Not everybody likes something. Yes. You need a very thick skin when you're showing your stuff to people.
Yeah.
You need to understand that no one is ever wrong about what they like or don't like. You can't now go to the shops and stand next to every person who doesn't like your game and convince them they do. They need to like it.
Yeah.
And if they don't like it, they're correct in saying so. But their emotional feelings are correct, but I don't think that their conclusions are. I don't like it, so it's a terrible game. No, you don't like it, you're right. It's a terrible game, you're not necessarily right. These are different things. But if everybody doesn't like it, you might need to review that.
Listen to the criticism, don't take it too hard.
Yes. And when you figure out how to do it every time, let me know.
I believe it's quite harsh listening.
It can be very tough. Yeah. You leave the passion behind. I was saying earlier, when you build the game, put all of your passion into it. When you try to sell it, take your passion away. Just sell it as a product. Get the commodity out there.
So a horde of questions still.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Apparently we have to run the competition first and then I'm allowed to ask questions. So,
swag.
First up, we have 2 copies.
What's the difference?
Of Toxic Bunny HD to give away.
Or both for tonight, or one for YouTube?
I think that it's only fair that these copies of the games go to people in IRC right now.
Okay.
So we will have some stuff
Well,
to
now
give
they know
away
what it
for
is.
guys who are watching the show a bit later. There will be T-shirts and pins and stuff. So if you want a copy of the game, you have to be in IRC. You have to have posted something. Oh, you need to see me for those in the video, and then we'll do a random draw at the end of the show like we usually do. That might take a while, but
Like it usually does.
yeah, I'll just I forgot my dice again, but I'll generate a random number from somewhere.
Random.org. Why are we still rolling dice?
So yeah, if you're watching the show tonight, you will be able to, or listening to the show live, because we've got an audio stream as well. You stand a chance of winning a Toxic Bunny HD copy, boxed and everything, that will be sent to you.
And signed.
That's very important. The silvery bits, that's Travis's signature and the rest of the team's.
No, I didn't sign it. I wrote my name. My signature wouldn't be recognizable, so we went for something you could read.
But that's important. It's actually, by the way, we put our name on this thing.
If you're listening to the live show or watching the live show, just sign into IRC. It's fairly easy. Say, hi, I want to win Toxic Bunny HD, and we'll put you in the
More
running.
people.
So in order to win it, you have to answer a question. That's the law, apparently. The question is on a slide. I don't remember it. The mixer put it together.
Question is, name 3 things that happened to Toxic Bunny that made him go on the warpath. And you emailed your answer to the mixer at letstalkgeek.net.
Except if you're in the draw for the live thing now. So we'll just do that from the IRC straight. Because there's no way to match up who's in the IRC versus the... Okay. Email the mixer at letstalkgeek.net. Let's do it like that.
Now.
Give your IRC nick in the email along with the answer, and if you win, we'll get in touch for your shipping details, etc., and ID number and blood type and all that good stuff.
Just a hint for the question, go to the website.
Yes,
It's on the website. Go hit the-
toxicbunny.co.za. Go look now.
I see we got one of the other devs on IRC.
Yeah, I see there has been somebody answering questions that has been asking.
Oh,
We've just
okay,
been
yes.
re-asking it so that it's in the video.
That's Quibus. His signature's on there somewhere.
Everyone that's just joined IRC to win the prize, change your nick by typing /nick
And then,
and then
new nick.
and then a new nickname, and then send us that, please, because putting all the MIBs together will be interesting.
Yes.
And you remembering that you are MIB 2KNT3H might be difficult. So to put in email. So change it to something that you know.
I'm
and
also just going to
recognize.
ask the mix, would you mind just pasting the competition details into the RSC? Thanks.
Thank you, Mixer.
Oh, that's good.
Back to questions,
Okay.
which was, or rather, this was actually interesting.
But I mustn't answer that one.
No.
Okay.
You're more
Well,
than,
if you want to, you let it slip.
So I thought something really cool that came up as we were busy putting the show together, science fiction wise, is that we picked up on exactly the same story that you picked up on exactly the same
Oh,
story
yes.
we covered last week about the warp drive.
Yes. I want it.
And that it can be a reality, exactly, right? So now a friend of mine and I were actually, looking into a science fiction narrative for a game. But it was going to be hard sci-fi, no faster than light
nice,
travel.
nice.
Now this has thrown that all for a loop. So will NASA's warp drive make it into your next sci-fi title?
Well, there's always some other kind of warp drive unless you're playing just solo here in the solar systems. And
Yeah.
even in the solar systems, it gets a bit tricky without something that can go, at least
gets
half
boring.
or a quarter. It gets quite interesting. It's definitely hardcore science fiction. But in particular, I don't think based on that specifically. What I do like is that they're paying homage to all the science fiction authors in terms of the naming and the ideas that go behind it. That's really quite encouraging. It's nice to see. I don't know if you know the story behind the laser. It's exactly the same.
Oh no, I don't.
Laser
actually.
was in fiction before it was real. It's based on a waveform system of mazes. And the fictional writer just added an L and went, it's with light. And then scientists went, well, actually, hang on, they're kind of like waves. And off they went and built them. So it's nice to see the homage being paid to the people who gave the birth to the idea. And Yeah, to be able to visit a planet in a week or 2 weeks in another solar system, it's practical.
Yeah, that would be rad.
Yeah.
That's on my bucket list.
Look, I'm still just trying to go to Taiwan and places like that.
So, and now your science fiction game, The Tainted.
Yes.
I remember being in high school when I think it was out of high school when the game was released. No,
Okay.
I was in high school when the game was released, and a friend of mine went to Rage, one of the first Rages, I think,
Okay.
and saw the game there.
Yep.
And I remember him saying that the game was really good, and then it seemed like things went quiet, and it took really long to get the game out. Is that an accurate way to remember it? I'm kind of throwing you in the deep end here because it's a history
there's some
question.
whole sub stories there, but to cut it all short, what happened was we were working under Electronic Arts at the time, and they were Vision Software when we started working with them. They ran under the European branch of EA, and the European branch of EA went off and were instructed by the head office to close down all development projects. So Bullfrog and all of those companies were closed down. We were just like a minor dot on the windshield at that point.
Is that where Bullfrog went?
Yes.
Interesting.
So at that point, we were dead in the water, the infrastructure was gone, and we carried on doing it piecemeal, bit by bit, trying to fund ourselves, and that's why it took so much longer to get out. So, and then when it did, what we didn't realize at the time was even more important than funding was access to the market. It didn't matter that we finished it. It was very nice on our hard drive. But getting it into international markets was much tougher than we expected. And without a sister company or established network, selling the game became very difficult.
And nowadays, obviously, with internet online distribution, that problem no longer exists.
It exists in a different way.
Decreased. Yeah.
You still need to be one of the 10,000 games vying for a little bit of attention. Having
Sure.
said that, there's only about 1,000 games on Greenlight, so it's not a ridiculously large number. But every week there's 2 or 3 or 4 new ones.
But you do hear the stories of game developers trying to make it on the Apple App Store, for example.
Any app store.
Yeah, it's just
Anywhere they can go.
Cutting through the noise is a tricky exercise. But I mean, it's just a different problem. And rather having access to the market and vying for attention than sitting with a game that you can't let anybody know
I'd say
about.
that it's a problem that all the people you're competing with have in exactly the same quantity as you have, which makes it's a very fair problem,
Yes,
as opposed to the one where you're dealing with a problem that you cannot solve.
yes. And that other people don't necessarily, in more
Have
established,
as
more
much.
mature markets, don't
Yes.
have as much.
Look, it is a bit better in other economies. Even in 1996, Australia's government was subsidising games development studios. So obviously different rules, different economies, but at least you can reach the market. And if you can't sell your game, you can't make money. And on the upside, dollars do really well compared to the rand. So
Especially right now.
it doesn't do any harm, that.
Yeah. Then another fond memory that I have is your feature that you ran in NAG way
Yes,
back when. Also science fiction.
Games developer diaries.
Yes.
Silver Rain.
Silver Rain.
That's
There we
correct.
go.
Yes.
So was that an actual game? Was it just
Yeah,
a
we were
concept?
building that as we went. It was one of our first 3D games, so it was built the engine from scratch 3D. At this point, it was 1998, 99,
And
2000.
Did this project run parallel to Zulu War?
Yes, it was running parallel. I think that project not being the only reason, but a lot of reasons. We ran out of time and money eventually, and none of those projects were far enough that we could do anything with it. What really disappointed me was when we shut down, our web had about 100,000 unique visits a month, and I didn't understand at the time what we could have done with that, just in terms of finding an investor. At 100,000 people interested in what we were doing, that alone would have been enough. And we also had about
100,000 uniques is more than some of South Africa's top news sites boast.
So we were very excited about it. In fact, when it started, we thought we were getting DOS attacked because it's just this traffic was just costing us a fortune. We didn't know what was going on.
Oh yeah, way back in 90s traffic.
1998, 100,000. That's insane.
Yeah.
So, that's more like about 2000, 2001. But what we didn't understand was what that means, what the value of that could have been in terms of turning it into an investment. So hindsight is a great thing.
Sure.
We long for those problems again.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, now, the internet is such a... Once again, there's just a deluge of content. That getting anything noticed or anything with that amount of traffic is a massive achievement now. Well, it was then, but there was far less noise to cut through.
Yeah, no, I look at the market today. Every game sells for more or less the same as it did in terms of price. Obviously the console games are a bit higher, but there are more choices today on the shelves. Each game probably sells as many as it did in 1996 for the top titles, the medium titles, but there are more top titles, there are more medium titles. It's just more games. And as a consumer, that's great, because I want more games. Always.
Yeah. So now with the Tainted, I think, covered and Silver Rain, I want to talk about Toxic Bunny a little more in depth. So you must be sick of it, but to put things don't
get sick of the bunny.
No, not Toxic Bunny, but about the comparison.
Okay.
So for those who don't know, 1994 was also the year in which Jackrabbit released, and that's the year.
That's correct.
That you started on Toxic Bunny.
Well, actually, the game idea predates that by 4 years.
Yeah. So
it was a high school idea from Nick and Brian.
Yeah.
4 years before we started working on that.
But invariably, and this is something I see on Greenlight as well, invariably you get compared to Jackrabbit, but it was developed it was developed completely separately.
It predates Jackrabbit 2 with Jazz and Spaz. Jackrabbit is a considerably different type of game. That plays more like Sonic in terms of timed racing through levels. Toxic is definitely inspired more by Earthworm Jim than Jackrabbit. Somebody said to you, "You're up top Earthworm Jim." I'm like, "Yeah, but it's a great game." Like, who cares? It's a great game, right? It's not an unpleasant comparison.
Every game is inspired by... Everything is built on something previous.
Always.
Even Pong, which was our random, is a tennis game, right? So
as long as you take
ping pong, I guess.
Yeah.
Proving, then sorry.
It is a comparison, and in some cases people make it and see it as a poor thing. In some cases people make it and see it as a great thing. You can't avoid those sorts of things. It is a little bit frustrating because it isn't a game we copied or emulated. It is a game that was also a bunny on a platform. But if you just bring up a picture of the two side by side, there's a few immediate differences.
Coffee.
Well, the coffee, the attitude, the cuteness, but that's just character. In terms of gameplay, the guys said to me, "Do you want to put a timer on Toxic Bunny? Do you want to have a timed level as part of the challenge?" I said, if somebody's enjoying my game, why do I want to limit how long they can play it? And you will see people roaming around the level, killing things and discovering things for hours and forgetting what they were doing. I see it even with the devs. We're testing a bug. Next thing, 40 minutes have passed. You're like, "Oh, what was I testing? What was I doing?" Because you're just having fun.
Yeah. Well, let's keep reminiscing about the good old days and about difficulty. That's something that we spoke about before the show. So, difficulty in Toxic Bunny HD versus Toxic Bunny, did you keep the levels the same or did you have to adjust it for the modern gamer?
Well, we made hard a little bit more difficult. I don't know what malicious thing was going around the office at the time, but we made it that when you get damaged in hard, he stops sprinting. That was the only difference. We add a lot more clarity to the puzzles with the dialogues where he talks to you. It's nice that the bunny can actually talk in little dialogues. We brought the comic thing into the game hard. We always wanted to be a bit of a comic, but we didn't have the... Well, actually, we just didn't think of putting speech bubbles in. I can't for the life of me think why not, because it's such an obvious step when we did it. So I think the gameplay is more in the game. It doesn't take you out the game to a little story piece and back in all the time. There's now a tutorial which we added in the patch, which is online. It's not in the box product, but the patch includes a tutorial for the grown-ups. We always say for the grown-ups.
Who's not going to sit there for hours working it out and playing. And
I think that helps to learn to play the game. Also, today's games have more of an attendance element than a learning the skill element. And the skill learning curve is much smaller while there's an attendance curve with a lot of story. Toxic's not quite that gentle. There's a serious learn to play the game element to it. And that's missing in a lot of modern games. So we like to warn people, you've got to learn how to jump. You've got to learn how to use the weapons. Each weapon does something slightly differently. Each weapon is perfectly suited to a different monster. Each potion is different for different things. So if you want to learn and explore a game which requires that sort of thing, Toxic's great. If you want a game of attendance where you watch a cartoon unfold. This isn't really what this is.
So an interesting comparison for me, another HD remake that saw the light of day this year was Karateka. And I have fond memories of that as well. Karateka as a very pixelated sprite, I wouldn't even call it a platformer. It's a completely linear game. You start on one end of the level because it's one level, and you mission straight through, and you karate chop people along the way.
Yeah, it's a beat 'em up.
Yeah, and so one of the first
Prelude
beat 'em
to
ups.
Double Dragon.
Yeah, and so Karateka, the HD remake, keeps the spirit of that, but the difficulty curve is dramatically decreased. All of a sudden, you effectively have 3 lives, which they've worked in beautifully, artistically. But in the original Karateka, if you died, you're dead.
Yeah.
It's as simple as that. You restart the game, but it's a short game, right? I mean, you can play it through in under half an hour.
Yes.
So it's not. But I mean, that's how unforgiving old games were. And as a if you played Super Mario, if you had
died.
3 lives, you died. You had to restart the whole game, and the only thing you get out of it is learning the level. So you've learned the level, and that's it. Then now you've got to take what you've learned and run through it from the start. Today's games are far more forgiving than that. So
I think they are. I think it's part of reaching a larger audience.
Yeah, I was also wondering, isn't there a bit more competition in that? So if somebody gets very frustrated with your game,
Yes.
in the old days, where would they go?
Wow.
They'd go to the beginning, and I'm thinking of Mario.
I'd go to one of the other 50 games on my 51-in-1 cartridge.
Which is the same game with a different color or something, yes.
Pretty much.
When nowadays, that's when they stop playing your games. So you want to keep them engaged in a way, and at least keep on rewarding them so that they.
I think that's part of it. I also think there's still space for unforgiving games, and I think if you're upfront about it and people understand that is the type of game we're building, people can enjoy it, especially horror games. Horror games need to be unforgiving.
One that
They must
definitely
be terrifying. Not, oh look, that's a monster, yeah.
one that definitely strikes me here is Zombie U, which is completely unforgiving.
Nothing wrong.
But you still cannot. Well, you can die if you take hardcore mode. But
Yes, yes.
But
then
the
your
normal
characters
mode-
die and your game is over. But otherwise, your character dies, but you lose all of your equipment too, and you have to go and fetch it.
That sounds like a reload.
Yeah, that's
there.
not. That's
You have to go and
in my
fetch it
head, unforgiving is step 1. Start again.
well,
Goodbye.
you can play Zombie U in hardcore mode, but I wouldn't recommend
Yeah.
it
No, what I mean is,
because it's Anyway,
But yeah, we didn't want to change the game too much. We didn't want to make a new game as much as remake what it was. We knew it was successful. We knew people liked it. We definitely put the word retro in the first sentence to describe the game, with the expectation that people will understand what retro means. If you reminisce about old games and you reminisce about old platform games, give it a bash. I think the playable demo's on the NAG disc right now.
Yeah, so I've seen the mixer's been playing some of the videos. I keep on getting caught watching it, so it actually looks very good. And it's I don't know if you know, I'm sort of zoning off, and it's the fact that even just like that, I'm getting caught. It actually looks very, very cool.
Yeah, he just fixed that machine. It doesn't work anymore.
so the time that went into remaking Toxic Bunny. Now you say you started the Java port when you were in Cameroon.
I don't really.
When was this?
I don't talk about that too much because, first of all, that was more tinkering and messing around with the Java stuff and building the Java game platform that we built it on. We called it Java G at first, actually, but discovered there was some requirements not to call it Java anything, so we went for Java game instead.
Interesting.
Then we started with it 2 years ago with the art. I think that's when we got serious about it. We were spending a lot of money on getting the graphics redone, primarily done by Paul, and he's done a great job. I think I even had a little picture of how you get Paul to draw so much stuff, because it was the art team, but the art team at this point was mostly Paul, and it was give him stuff to draw, feed him coffee. Give him stuff to draw, feed him pizza. Nods off, feed him coffee, give him stuff to draw, give him pizza, and just went around in a circle till you get levels out, because our levels are gigantic. If you actually watch and you realize there's only 4 levels, and when you start to play, you see the scale and the size of them, and they're all hand drawn. You realize that you're dealing with a lot of hard work, and there are lots of little hidden things in the game.
Very cool.
Jokes that if you get them, you get them. If you don't get them, lost on you.
Cool.
So that's new in the game from the original. A little bit in there, but tiles don't have that luxury.
Sure.
The full level uncompressed PNG is about 600 meg.
Yeah.
So
It's decent.
That's a lot of graphics.
Yes.
Hand drawn.
Yeah.
That needs to be a poster.
On a tablet.
We'll put it on the ceiling.
Remember, that's 4 levels.
And talking about art, I remember in your interview with us at Rage, you mentioned that you're going to run an art contest.
We did.
For South African artists.
We did. It was actually, we got some international entries as well. We sent out the prizes today, actually, so the people who competed will be getting them. You got a winning entry. I don't know if you go to our Facebook page, it's all on there. Facebook Toxic Bunny Game. I'll bring it up here. And that went incredibly well. It went incredibly well. We couldn't have hoped for more. We also did an experiment with some of the schools around our area, and we engaged with Northcliffe High, and they sent us about 100 entries from the grade 8 class. I don't get grades over standards. I think it's grade 8.
Yeah, I'm still on the old.
Yeah, so it's a grade 8 class, and they sent us 100 different entries, which was great. We're actually going to be talking to them as grade 9s next year, and that was lovely to see them getting behind it.
Brilliant.
It's a community. Community is great.
So before we close off Let's Talk Geek, there are more things to give away. So if you've stuck around and you are watching, even if you're watching the YouTube or listening to the audio podcast, we are giving away T-shirts, courtesy of Celestial and Travis. Thank you very much. And pins as well. So if you're watching the video stream, you can see
I got pins.
You can see the T-shirt in it. There are 2 sizes available, right, Travis? Small and
Extra
XXL.
large, I'm afraid.
Yeah.
That's it, yes.
So, so the XL,
There you go. Does that work?
so when you enter the comp,
Little pins.
Yeah.
you have to answer the same question, which is what 3 things drove Toxic off the edge,
And a bunny.
and tell us your T-shirt size. So that if you
Goober. I like
win,
Goober.
we'll send you the right T-shirt. So
a
also
hunch
we'll have to draw a certain number because we have a limited number of T-shirts. We also have some pins that we'll be giving away.
Perfect.
And depending on shipping costs, we'll see how the how the pin giveaways work. We'll probably throw them in with some of the other prizes.
I thought you were going to say throw them at people.
It'll work as well.
But
If you come close enough for us to throw, you win a pin.
yeah, but it is a problem to try and
ship,
courier pins to the far reaches of. We're based in Gauteng, so if you're in Gauteng, we can probably make a plan. But if you're based elsewhere, couriering it is a little excessive, I think. But you still might win a T-shirt, and that will
Is
courier.
worth it.
No, that's worth it.
Yeah.
Those are cool.
Very good.
Some of the last ones.
Cool.
Will
It's
there
a
be
pity
another
I can't
badge?
win.
We're definitely thinking about it.
Okay.
We keep getting requests for the T-shirt. We're going to buy the T-shirt. Like, we should have made T-shirts. It's game business. We sell T-shirts.
Wait, you see, if you have a good game and people love the game, then they want the T-shirts.
then you can- Then you can go into the models or the plushie business. Exactly. How about a plushie?
Actually, we're busy.
Before we start talking too much rubbish,
I was gonna say-
I'd like to end off the segment. Thank you for joining us for Let's Talk Geek.
Perfect.
Stick around. We're going to do the What Geekery Is This up next. But if you're watching the stream, you can watch us ramble on and on about rubbish. Thanks for watching. If you're just joining us, this is Let's Talk Geek episode 117. Our special guest is Travis Bulford from Celestial Games. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for sticking around.
Oh, it's great.
This is a new section of the show that I like to call What Geekery Is This? And by new, I mean 3 episodes young. And our first topic in the segment is WiFox, because it's a Wi-Fi thing. The Mixer discovered this and is going to tell us about it. That's right. You're about to hear the Mixer's voice.
Wait. Mixer, why is it called WiFox?
I don't know why it's called WiFox, but basically what happened is a group of students from NC State University discovered if they write software with specific algorithms, they can boost the performance of Wi-Fi routers by up to 700%. Just regular Wi-Fi routers, they crack the router, they install their own software on the router, and voila, 700% boost. So to get into more detail, they invented something called WiFox, which is software that sits on the Wi-Fi router and it monitors how much network traffic is being demanded on the router. And when there's a backlog of traffic, the router essentially tells all the devices on the network to shut up. And for a second, and then he pushes out all of the requests it's been given. Instead of the devices fighting over who gets the packets first, the router is in charge, and it gives itself highest priority, and it gets to decide who gets traffic. And so during testing, they found a 400% improvement in speed when 25 people were connected to the same Wi-Fi network.
Wow.
And as soon as they pushed that number up to 45, the performance improvement hit 700%.
Now, my question is, and you're going to ask the same thing, do you need to adjust the firmware of any of the Wi-Fi devices on the network? Can you just use the existing TCP/IP stack and go, use exponential backoff in Ethernet to tell people, okay, keep quiet now, and then you push out the info?
So as I understand it, on the user side, you connecting to the Wi-Fi network, you don't have to change anything. What happens is the router manufacturers are lining up for demos from this group of students to buy the rights to license the software and install it on their routers. So when they ship their routers, they ship with WiFox already installed on the...
Point me at the Kickstarter.
Okay, but my thing is it would have to be on the router. My question is actually not that.
Okay.
My question is, this is 700% compared to baseline of 45 people,
Yes.
not 700% compared to one person speaking on the Wi-Fi router.
This is for Wi-Fi. This is for when when you're at a conference or something and everybody's on the Wi-Fi and it falls over. That's where I think this would be of most use.
I think this will get more throughput through because you're stopping all the collisions effectively. The thing is, I still think normally when the Wi-Fi is falling over, it's the fact that the CPU is out of resources, and it's actually a CPU problem and firmware problem more than throughput. Look, you get massive degradation of Wi-Fi.
Sure.
But it's normally when you see that fall over, it's actually the Wi-Fi routers died.
Yeah.
So basically all the manufacturers have to do is issue a software update that enables WiFox support on their routers. And the idea being that they'll ship all new routers with WiFox already running.
Very interesting. I've seen quite a bit of research about improving Wi-Fi
Very
performance like this. And a lot of them are playing with the same type of ideas. So it's really cool to see some of the stuff coming through because, I mean, Wi-Fi... in South Africa, at least, I mean, your choice is either going to be Wi-Fi or mobile network, which is
A formal Wi-Fi.
no, I'm talking about 3G and stuff.
Yes.
So your 3G is a very expensive form of connectivity.
Yeah, look, when I say it's a form of wireless communication.
Sure.
So this might even on the 3G side help because effectively what you're doing is you're dropping the noise floor because you've got fewer people speaking. The data is transferred by sending a signal higher than the lower noise, and the closer that the signal strength and noise gets together, the more error you get, and the more people speaking, it just pushes the noise up, which means you get more error and more. So by telling everybody to shut up, you now get a clearer signal, so you get fewer drop packets, which means you get higher throughput.
Next in What Geekery is this? Tasker's UI has been reimagined. Tim, I think you put this in, or was it Khaled? Okay.
I did. This is by some Android design, I think possibly.
Oh, so
part
this
of the
isn't
Android
actually
design.
Tasker.
No, this is not Tasker.
This is like that
actually
design
implemented-
exercise with Microsoft's logo and stuff. Somebody else did it.
I might have missed that one, but yeah, kind of like that. These are external people. I think they're Google employees. They might just be evangelists, something along that line. But they do design work, and they've taken Tasker, which has a fairly ugly UI. I mean, it's a great app. You can do so many wonderful things with it, but it has an absolutely ugly UI.
What does Tasker do?
Tasker lets you automate anything. So essentially, you have certain profiles and then certain conditions that would activate or deactivate those profiles. So say I get to work, which is then determined by either me climbing onto the work's Wi-Fi or my location or something like that. I want certain things to activate on my phone automatically. It goes into silent, it turns Bluetooth off because I don't need that anymore. Wi-Fi goes on, 3G goes off, things like that. And well, ugly UI, and obviously it doesn't follow any kind of hollow UI guidelines because it was written before there were any solid guidelines. And these guys have taken it and they've applied some really cool styling, and it follows hollow guidelines. It looks slick. And the one thing that pretty much everyone says is want. Because it looks gorgeous. It looks like it would improve usability of Tasker.
If there's
just by
anything
so
cooler
much.
than a cool app, it's a cool app that looks good.
It's a cool app that looks good
Always.
and is more usable.
Does it have a web interface?
Tasker.
No. Because it's meant for your phone, not it's
so
not
it's
a web
not
app.
like OnX. I mean, OnX and
OnX
Tasker are very
requires the
similar.
web interface to be
Facebook
able to
specifically.
use the
Yeah.
actual phone app, which is kind of ridiculous. This is a phone. It's an app targeted at your phone. So
Okay.
I'm all fine with it, but everybody seems to, with phones nowadays, forget about we have these very cool, big, large screens that I can set everything up on. And then have, so you want to modify it. You give me the interface on the phone, because I want it on the phone. But why not let me tweak it on this really big screen that is so much more user-friendly, and you can
Well,
do. And
the
then
one
push it to
thing
my phone.
the one thing I can think of is that would increase their maintenance costs substantially. And
Also-
their running costs. I mean, now you suddenly have a server that you have account handling as well. It's going to get messy really quickly.
Having said that, though, but in terms of Android, almost everybody's running off
A Google account.
a Google account.
Google App Engine,
so
man.
Yeah.
if you could do App Engine config systems for something like that, that'd be brilliant. And it's not that difficult.
And you only really start paying for App Engine once you start hitting certain volumes, and hopefully you'll be able to offset those costs.
What
off
would
your-
those
one would
volumes
hope so.
be?
Yeah.
You need a bit of a
I'd have
business
to go
model
and,
there.
Yeah, I'd have
Yeah.
to go and look
You'd-
at
you'd
the
need to have
actual
to check.
volumes. It's significant. You can have free
And
access on
you
App
can
Engine
do a
for
fair
quite a
amount
while.
of caching and reduce. Just to me, that would be the way I would want to do it.
Well,
It would make my life.
I don't know how OnX compares to Tasker, but I mean, you're more. I mean,
Easier
OnX,
to use, but not as powerful.
Yeah.
Tasker has always been, to me, it's always been the most powerful of any of these types of apps. I mean, even Motorola, they came up in one of their earlier versions of Blur. They had a version of this where you basically just drag and drop things. Really easy to use, but it just wasn't as powerful. So that's pretty much what all of the other competitors, they're simple to use, but they don't get all the functionality that Tasker can do.
I'm going to cut us short on Tasker
Cool.
and move us along into sweet geek stuff for the holidays.
Are we talking edible geek stuff here?
You can eat it, you can use it, or whatever it is, but it like a gift idea because it's the holidays coming up, mostly Christmas in the Western world.
Oh, okay, not edible stuff. Don't buy me edible stuff.
And and so we've got the holidays coming up. This is our last official Let's Talk Geek for the year, so it's only suitable to end off on sweet stuff you can buy me, I think.
You.
Because
Yes.
Okay.
Me.
so, without any further ado, who likes to go first?
You.
No. This was the mixer's idea, so I think the mixer should go first. The mixer can't find the mute button, everyone.
Okay, well, I'll gladly go first. I found this really awesome thing online that would
Where else?
definitely be on my Christmas wish list. It is from VM Ultra, and what they've done is bundle. It's a USB hub, DVD drive, SD slot, and it's also got a 500 gig hard drive, and it is the ultimate laptop peripheral. So all of those things in one little unit. And the best thing is, if you don't want the DVD drive, you can yank it out and put another hard drive in there. And
Sweet.
upgrade the storage to 1 terabyte. So it's like an all-in-one little compact external drive.
USB
The only
hub.
thing it's missing is maybe HDMI port or something like that.
Why?
But yeah, and it's USB 3. So I don't know. I think it's pretty epic, and they are $199 and are available from the US. So
That's as much as a Kindle Fire.
It's like 2.5. That's as much as an Nexus 7.
it's a bit expensive, but I don't know. I saw it online. I think they would be definitely on my Christmas list. So.
If anyone wants to drop that much.
My Christmas list, because I'm just going to go completely overboard, is Sony launched a 4K Bravia TV. It costs over
No.
200,000 Rand.
I'm not taking out a home loan on a home I don't even have yet.
So I want one of those. And earlier in the show, I said that I've got two options. One in the realm of possibility and one outside the realm of possibility.
Yes, indeed.
This one was in the realm of possibility. This is something I
Okay,
can
so
have.
the other one is
A teleporter. I'm sick and tired of traffic. Someone build that thing. I will find you the money. I want the
That would
teleporter.
be the end of the world.
I'll kickstart that.
That
Why?
would be the
Well,
ultimate
think nothing is secure anymore.
No,
Ultimate
not
bomb
teleport to
deliver-
anywhere, from teleporter to teleporter.
Yeah, but you've just said that you've specified from where to where.
Yes.
Yeah,
At
from
least
some
it's-
pad to another pad. Or
Yeah.
So yeah,
It's better than
need
nothing.
Okay.
you need something to
Ultimate
lock
bomb
you to a certain
delivery
place.
system.
get
Sure.
to another teleporter, but you still get access to
Haven't
this
you
one.
watched Stargate? They blocked those inevitably.
Well, yes. So with big guns and people stopping them.
No.
No, they
blocked
put a
the nuke-
shield in front of
Yeah,
it.
they put like shields and stuff to prevent nukes from being transferred by a teleporter. The Asgard teleporters, man, they were their ultimate weapon, and then all of a sudden they weren't.
Yeah, teleport the nuke inside the ship, and then suddenly that wasn't possible anymore. That
Bad
yeah,
plot
for
device
those
to
watching
start
the
with.
video stream, that is the Bravia 4K TV that Jan's talking about.
I want it.
I haven't seen it.
And then
Jan
once I've
has
got
seen it.
that, and they launch OLEDs next year, I want to sell that.
and get
Probably
an
going to be
OLED.
worth 10,000 Rand, and then I'll get the OLED TV.
Yeah, there's no way to put that.
Yeah, that's not, yeah, exactly. We don't call that a television set anymore. That's just a wall replacement. All right, so
Brick and mortar included.
do you guys have picks for this holiday season?
No idea how to get you the pics of things I'm looking at, but there's a few things I wouldn't mind. I'd particularly go for a Legend of Zelda Master Sword replica from ThinkGeek. I like that.
Hey, you can go to ThinkGeek.
41 inches long. It's a proper decent sized Zelda sword. I think that's cool. And there's a sword and a shield, so if you want to really run around in 8-bit style in your living room.
Well, or to the next con.
Well, I suppose,
that's
yeah,
a
there
great
you go.
For cosplayers.
Cosplay
Except
done
I don't
right.
think they'll deliver something this length, funny enough.
You might have some trouble at customs.
Yes.
Just maybe.
I have a very funny story about customs, but I'm not sure I should tell it.
We'll wait. We'll have that one
Later.
afterwards.
Indeed. Gerrit, do you know what you want this Christmas season, since you already have all the tablets?
Yeah, nothing really epic.
A new tablet to want?
No,
You just got a Wii U, don't you want a game?
I do. I'll take I have an Evernote list, and I actually need to start dishing that out. That's my list of stuff for Christmas. So obviously Mario is on there.
Skylander is not on Wii U yet, but
Not,
but it's not available on
Skylanders
SA.
Giants. Yes, I'll go for some of that too.
I'd go for a Wii that boots. That'd be great.
Jan is having some problems.
Yeah, you just want an improvement to an existing gift, not a new gift. Yes, that is.
You want an unbrick mode.
Oh, I know what I do want. Sorry, no. I want the Blu-ray remake of TNG
All right.
with all the special effects and stuff redone in HD. That I would love.
Interesting.
Cool.
I didn't know that was available.
I don't think it's
TNG, the
available.
Next Generation.
They're busy doing it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Next generation.
Yeah, next gen Star Trek. They're busy with it. I think it might be available. The first season might be, but yeah, that'd be great. I've got a couple of seasons of TOS, and it's great. It's not Blu-ray, but it's still. And what's nice is when the ship would go sideways, what they do is they put it on the runner, and they turn it on the runner so that it looks like it's, and they just slide it down the runner. So when they've done it in 3D, beautiful polished model, lighting, shading, and it's on the same runner. They've been true to exactly what was there before. So that's kudos to them. And yeah, that's what I'd like.
Cool. That brings us to the
Wait,
end. Not
mine,
yet, Tim.
I can't find the name of the screen. It's the screen you did the
It's a Dell what's its face, isn't it?
Oh,
What's
yeah.
its face?
but
Oh,
it's
that's
the
good.
what is it? It's a 14 actually a 1400p effectively. I've just saw because it's effectively exactly the same as what the Apple screens are, and they're just beautiful. So
That'd be cool.
and I'll be looking because there's actually one which you can get the same screen. Apparently the Dell control software is better, but there's a cheaper version you can get shipped into the country for about $4,000.
How much is the Dell?
$6,000. And effectively, the thing is, apparently, the control software for the Dell out of the box is a lot better. So pretty much you get it back, and the lighting and everything's perfect.
Yeah, I've heard this one mentioned. Is it an IPS panel?
It's an IPS.
So it's basically a Mac or an iMac
And
screen.
apparently, it's from the same manufacturer. So the
Good grief.
actual screen part of it is exactly
Here it
the
is.
same.
It's the Dell U2713HM. 27-inch LED monitor, WQHD 2560 by 1440.
Just
I'd go for one of those too. My screen's starting to flicker,
yeah. And then
which
the
is sad because it's such a cool screen.
other thing that I've been looking at is the Bose noise cancelling over-ear headphones.
I just got my new headphones.
Are you talking
today.
about the quiet comforts?
Yes.
Okay, I have a set of those.
I-
Highly recommend it.
I know they're about $4,000.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm not in a duty free.
But I've just tasted them for when you need to ignore people so that you can't hear them speaking.
Stress hamsters, I'm telling you.
Somebody walks into your office. The
The problem is, it doesn't make them go away.
You're not throwing them
throwing
hard
hard
enough.
enough.
Hard version.
Yes. You're not throwing them fast enough. And the next thing after that is compressed air cylinder with a feed.
And
You
when
see
they
where this
work
is
in
going.
the same office as you,
Ah,
it's frowned upon.
this is true.
This way I can legally not hear them.
The only issue with them is that they are powered and they've got no passive mode. So if your battery runs out,
Yeah, I
can't do
had that
anything.
same
That's
deal with
Are they
those
USB
Beats.
charged?
no.
No.
Triple
The
A's.
noise cancelling, it's like the Beat Studios that I reviewed. It's battery powered, I think by 2 AAAs.
This one is one AAA.
Oh, good grief, 1 AAA. Yeah, that's going to last long.
No, it lasts fairly long, dude.
Even if you leave it on.
No.
I left-
Well, it actually is a power saving mode.
I left mine on by accident. It was drained within 2 days. Because, well, I'm not used to switching off my headphones.
No, it's very simple. It's called a charger with a space set of batteries.
And another gift
Exactly,
to
that's
buy
what I
Tim
did.
is a USB battery charger, which is in my bag, and I could turn my back and fetch it and show you, and that's awesome. Plug it into your laptop, takes AA's or AAA's, charges them straight from your PC.
Nice. Very
Dun, dun,
nice.
dun, dun.
Because I do, and the
Very
only reason why I
nice.
want over years, I've got the on-ear ones of which
Sennheisers.
the
Yeah, the
Sennheisers,
MM4
which are lovely,
440s
also
or
noise
450s.
cancelling. The problem with on-ear is that you can still vaguely hear the person when they're speaking. So it does count, and it helps for coding and stuff.
You got me in mind of that scene in what is it called? Not Office Space.
Oh, is it a series?
Space rocks.
Movie. Never mind. I can't
Okay,
put
cool.
it now.
Look, the other gift, which is the impossible one, silence.
Silence.
Yes. You know, like when you want to. Just as in, don't people not speaking to you for 6 hours.
I don't know how to respond to that. See the problem? If I respond, I can't give you what you ask for.
Not at the moment. No, it's more when I'm working. It's
That
just
is
that
office
in that
space I'm
middle,
thinking
that
of.
really concentrated thing, and every 20 minutes somebody's coming in and asking you something.
Gentlemen,
Anyway, yes.
I'm going to cut it there. And this, by the way, is why Conan O'Brien has an in-ear piece, so his producer can talk to him, because then I wouldn't forget Tim's pick. And with that, I'd like to thank you for joining us. That's the end of What Geekery Is This? And the end of Let's Talk Geek 117. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Go and check out toxicbunny.co.za. Remember to enter the competition. They've got a Facebook page, facebook.com/toxicbunnygame.
That's it.
You've got celestial-games.com. Check out Travis on Twitter, T Bulford,
That's it.
T Bulford. And Toxic Bunny is on Twitter as well, @ToxicBunnyHD.
That's it.
And then you can Let's Talk Geek, Let's Talk Network. We've got a bunch of stuff as well. We plug it regularly. If you don't know it by now yet, just go to the site and pick it all up from there. letstalkgeek.net or ltg.letstalknetwork.tv. Thanks very much for listening. And we'll see you
And
again
watching. Yeah.
in 2013.
Yep.